Lifting heavy, absolutely overrated.
Overrated. All right, I'm going underrated, in my opinion.
Way overrated.
I'm going underrated because if you want to get strong, I feel like you have to add weight to the bar. The only way you're going to prove to get strong is just incorporate progressive overload and add weight to the bar gradually over time. Why is it overrated?
Well, I'm saying it's overrated because you don't need to lift heavy to get a good physique. You can absolutely lift lighter weights. You can go for higher reps. Lifting heavy, you're going to have a greater chance of injury. And people who are training heavy are more likely to get injured. They're ego lifting in the gym. And so if you're out there, don't have to train heavy to look amazing. I would say that it's even. Is there a neutral? It's exactly where it should be. It's not overrated and it's not underrated. It's exactly what it should be. Training to failure is important if you're an advanced lifter, but if you're a beginner, you don't need to do it at all. And so depending on where you're at in your training, you either need to do it or you don't need to do it.
I'm gonna say training to failure, again, underrated, just because I feel like most people don't train hard enough. And at least if you're training to failure, you're probably gonna be giving your body some kind of stimulus to adapt and improve. So my opinion, training to failure, underrated.
And I would say, just to add to that, you're right. Most people don't train hard enough, but most people don't even train close to failure. They're mostly training 5 reps shy of failure. So if those guys train a little bit harder and didn't approach failure, they'd still be doing a lot better than they're doing right now. I would say that it's somewhere in the middle. Range of motion in my mind was we all had to have full range of motion all the time, but new research, especially now where long length partials has been shown that potentially adds even more muscle than doing the full range. And so I don't know where it is right now. Every year it seems like something else is different. So I just say train hard, full range, partial range, at least train.
Absolutely. Again, I'm gonna take a hard stance. I feel like full range of motion is underrated again. I come from like kind of an old school of thought. Strength is only gained in the range that it's trained. So I feel like if you're just doing partial reps, you probably could be getting more benefit if you're taking your muscles through a full range of motion. So I think range of motion, again, underrated.
So I'd add to that, go with what he's saying, full range of motion for the full set, and then if you can't get any more reps at the end, you want to go to failure, then maybe do partials at the end. So incorporate both.
Partial, it's like training to true failure is what Greg's saying.
I would say that's overrated. I don't think you need to do isolation exercises whatsoever. Plus, if you're really focusing on major movements, compound movements, you're going to build more than one muscle at the same time and you have less time in the gym. And so if you don't want to do isolation, don't do them.
I love that answer. That's coming from an IFBB pro bodybuilder saying isolation exercises are overrated. I think isolation exercises are overrated as well. I personally rarely do them. I've built my physique mainly just on compound lifts. Squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, dips, pull-ups. Basically 6 exercises, some single leg exercises, and that's how I've trained the majority of my training career. So isolation exercises, overrated.
I like bro splits. I'm not following one right now, but I think bro splits are great. Overall, I just think find the exercise program that you like, that you enjoy, and stick with that for the rest of your life. I used to train with like a 4-day split, 5-day split. Now I'm doing full body exercises. And so just pick what makes you happy. Everything works.
Absolutely. I think bro splits, again, I'm gonna say overrated, but again, any training split is better than no training split. So do what you enjoy. I would personally never train body parts. I would never go into the gym and just train shoulders or just arms, but I come from a different background than Greg. So I like lower upper split or total body splits.
Oh, I think neutral. I think that some people need a rest day, some people don't. I rarely take a day off. I've gone, for example, I've done entire contest prep where I've never taken a day off and it was fine. I mean, if you need a day off, take it. If you don't take it.
I think rest days, overrated, all right? Simply because, as I said before, I think most people they don't need to worry about overtraining, they need to worry about undertraining. So rest days, yes, if you're truly training hard and pushing yourself to the max, like day in and day out at the gym, you're gonna need some like rest, because that's when your body grows. But in general, I think most people, they should train harder because most people, they just don't train hard enough. So
yeah, most people don't train harder to need a day off. Like 95% of people don't need to take a day off. So for me, maybe, for you, maybe, but for most people, just keep going, train harder.
Train harder.
Than last time. Sumo deadlifts are underrated because people think that you're only gonna get strong from doing conventional deadlifts. Everyone makes fun of sumo deadlifters. Listen, whatever deadlift you want, if it's sumo, conventional, what's the other bar called? The
trap bar.
The trap bar. Pick the one that you like. And so sumo, definitely underrated.
I think sumo deadlifts are way overrated. I personally only feel like girls spread their legs, but I'm not a power lifter. I haven't set world records like Greg has, but I have done a triple body weight conventional deadlift, and I personally just feel like sumo deadlifts are way easier because you have to pull the bar so much less of a distance. So of course they're going to be easier. And if sumo deadlifts were so great, why don't they allow them in strongman competitions? That's my opinion. I think sumo deadlifts are overrated.
I think conventional deadlifts look way cooler, and that's why they allow it, and that's why they encourage it in strongman competitions. But if you look at the best lifters in the world, conventionals lift more than sumo. So if by definition it was easier, why aren't all the best deadlifts sumo?
Steroids.
Oh,
I'm going to go, all right.
you want me to answer first?
Yeah.
They're way overrated. Are you kidding me? People think that, okay, so this guy is 100% natural. Look at his physique. People think that if you look like this and you're natural and he takes steroids, he's in the Mr. Olympia. It doesn't work the same for everyone. There are guys out there that could take every steroid in the world. Remember, I've done them for 10 years. Never look as good as this. Never. Everything, including the kitchen sink, never to get to this side. It's genetics. And so steroids, of course they work, but people think they work better than they actually do. There's a small percentage of people, the outliers, like 1% out there, that are hyper responders. And so they take these steroids, they put on 50 pounds of muscle, they show their before and after transformations, and everyone sees that and they're thinking, well, if I took steroids, that would happen to me. Trust me, I've coached guys, they've taken steroids under my guidance, they've taken it for years and put on 15 pounds of muscle. They're like, why don't I look like you yet? I'm like, you don't have the genetics. They're training hard, they're eating perfectly. It just doesn't work as good as people think they do. And so that's why I think they're overrated.
That's a very powerful statement, especially coming from someone of Greg's caliber, pro bodybuilder, world-class powerlifter, and one of the biggest fitness influencers in the world. And he's done steroids, so he can speak both from a natural perspective and an enhanced perspective. I'll give my stance. I personally think steroids are overrated. Again, I can only speak from one perspective. I am lifetime natural, and I've been able to achieve most of the goals that I've set out for myself naturally. And I personally just think more people should stay natural, and before they ever consider taking steroids, max out your natural genetic potential first. And it's a personal choice, but I just feel like because steroids can have detrimental effects to your health, I'm gonna say overall, overrated.
Do you feel like they're almost overly encouraged now too? Like I've seen a shift where it's almost cool now.
I feel like steroid use now is almost ubiquitous in the fitness industry. It's everywhere. I personally think, and this is a question I was gonna ask you later, I personally think it's more acceptable and more common and almost expected to take steroids now in the fitness industry than it's more popular than it ever has been. I think social media only exacerbates that. But I'm proud to be natural, and I care about health. I think that's a message that more people need to understand.
Yeah, I think it's really sad that more people think that you should, or if you do steroids, you're gonna get more followers, that it's cool. People hype it up, and we got names like Trend Twins. I'm trying to pick on them, but like when you have that name and you're cool and you have a lot of followers, it's like other kids are copying them. There was a 14-year-old I did a video on, and he called himself Trend something, and he was pretending to take Trend. He was on test boosters, pretending to take Trend in his videos. 14-year-old, and well, actually, he was 17, pretending to be 14. I was like, what is going on? So people are doing this, copying these things, pushing supplements, pushing peptides, gray area supplements. It's sad.
It's not a good place to be. And actually, sorry, Greg, I'm going to ask you to elaborate one more time. Can you make that analogy you made when you compared someone with steroids versus someone who's obese?
Being on steroids and being obese, to me, they're the same things in terms of your health. If you're abusing steroids, it's no different than if you're abusing eating food, overeating. The health ramifications are bad. You're taking years off your life. And so when I look at somebody who's a Mr. Olympia bodybuilder, like the epitome of health, we think, if you look at their blood work, it's not good. Same as you look at somebody who's 400 pounds, it's not good. That's why bodybuilders are dying young. That's why people who are obese are dying young. And so just because you're on steroids and look healthy doesn't mean that you actually are.
Very well said.
If they were that healthy, I'd be on them now.
Dude,
don't you think I want to be jacked? I would
Dude,
love to.
You still are jacked.
I still have a decent, it's great, but I would love to have 10 pounds more muscle and look like all these guys at Finest Gym here.
Yeah, it's just
guys
not worth.
Are nuts.
It's not worth the health consequences. Way overrated. I personally never take ice baths. I'm not going to go out of my way to make myself extremely uncomfortable if it's not like in a gym or training setting. I personally just think they're anything special.
Oh, it's absolutely overrated. I don't know what people think they're getting of it. I mean, if you like it because you're getting that dopamine fix, maybe you're coming off of recreational drugs and you need the dopamine release. But if you think you're going to take an ice bath and somehow boost your metabolism, I'm going to burn 500 calories? Are you kidding me?
Dude,
like,
it's
you
trendy.
Can't lay in a bed for 3 minutes of ice and think that it's going to somehow magically transform your physique. It's not doing anything. Plus, I hate it.
Yeah, it's all it is trendy.
It's way overrated, way overrated. All you need to go to the gym is train harder than freaking last time. How hard? Harder than you did the last time. Is it that complicated? Whatever you did last time, do a little bit more. You did 30 minutes of cardio, do 31. You did 30 minutes at level 3, do 3.1. a little bit harder. Science this, science that. You're going to get overloaded with information. You're not going to remember anything.
Way overrated. I despise evidence-based training, science-based training. I think it just people use it so they can claim that like they sound smart. Dude, training and nutrition is so simple. Training is easy. Just like what Greg said, go into the gym and do something harder than last time. Incorporate progressive overload, whether that's just gradually increasing the weight you use or gradually increasing the reps you use with the same weight. Find some way to use progressive overload. Science-based training, I think it's a gimmick. People know, they've known how to train for 100 years, all right, 50 years. Stick to the basics and train hard. Way overrated.
Yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with learning and trying to and get more information. But when you go into the gym and all you're thinking is science this, I need to do exactly this many reps for this much effort, you can't even track that. If you do 10 reps of bicep curls, you can swing 1% more and make it so much easier. You can't actually track everything that you're doing. So you just need to go in and train hard. That's all you need to do.
I personally think it's detrimental. It makes way more people overthink than just go into the gym, train hard, stick to the basics. I hate science-based training. I'm gonna say overrated. Just make sure you're in a calorie deficit if you want to lose fat. Will you perhaps burn more fat if you're doing cardio in a fasted state? Yes, you might use fat as an energy source during that cardio, but it all comes down to being in a calorie deficit at the end of the day. So whether you do cardio, fasted, or fed, that's a personal preference. So I think it's overrated.
It's definitely overrated. At best, it's equally good. You might be burning, and you probably will be burning more fat during that time period when you're doing cardio, if you have an empty stomach, but immediately after that time, you're burning less fat. And so the balance is there. It doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, calories in, calories out. If you don't eat enough during your training, before your training, you might have a lesser performance. You might not be able to push as many watts on the bike, for example, burn less calories, and so then you're actually at a detriment.
Agreed. I personally never train fasted. I think that's, oh man, I'm gonna have to say underrated because I train basically solo all the time. I feel like if you really want something and you have a goal, then you need to be kind of self-motivated and self-driven to get there. So it's not a bad thing to have a training partner or a coach, but definitely shouldn't be too reliant on them.
I think it's neutral. I think that it benefits some and it's not useful to others. I think that people who want a coach, they should get one. I don't have a coach. I don't have a training partner. It's great for me. And I think for the most part, people know that a coach is obviously going to benefit them if they hire them. And so I think it's neutral.
Greg, thank you so much for coming on my channel.
Great questions.
It was an honor. Make sure you check out Greg Doucette on YouTube. Greg Doucette, check him out on Instagram right there. He's one of the most prominent, respected dudes in the industry. He's been doing it forever. Also, buy his cookbook. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right? And Greg, thanks for coming on, man.
All right, perfect.
Really thankful, man, so much. Honor.